Will Brock Purdy have a new contract? Not sure. But DraftKings are confident that he'll have a good year. Over-under set at 10.5 while facing last place schedule that looks like this. Yeah. Falcons, Panthers, Jags, Titans, Bears, Texans, Colts, Saints, Bucks, Browns, and Giants.
Wow.
There you go, bro. Bro, you want to go first? Over under 10.5 wins. And we did make a rule that you can't just say, that's about right.
I'm going over. Fourth place schedule, as you just showed. Brock Purdy on a mission to prove his haters wrong.
Or will Brock Purdy be complacent because he just got paid like you said he's going to?
I don't think he'll be complacent. Brandon Ayuk on a mission. He needs to be on a mission because he was bad last year in the little bit that he played. Jawan Jennings, nice number 3. I was an excellent number 3 receiver.
Well, then who's
Ricky
the number 2?
Pearsall.
Oh, I
think Ricky Pearsall. Okay, switch them. But that's 3 good receivers. Good receiving core. Christian McCaffrey be back. And Robert Saleh with the defense.
I love it.
Yeah. And they're over.
Okay, so I just want to, so we're on the record on this because this is important. The Niners, in your opinion, have a good to very good receiving core?
He's a good.
I think it's a good receiving
Good receiving core. Great running back, right?
Good. I don't know what McCaffrey's going to be.
Okay, good running back. Very good
running
tight
back,
end.
good receiving core.
So they have weapons galore.
See? Good.
Good. They're good everywhere. What team?
No, they don't have weapons galore. Philadelphia's got weapons galore.
Philadelphia has the best. I'm just curious. Okay, who are the?
They don't have the best. They don't have a top. There are several teams with better receiving.
Hold up, but they have an excellent tight end.
And this, what are you even trying to say? Because your golden boy Matthew Stafford couldn't do anything when his receivers were injured. I'm just saying. Let me say it loud and clear. Brock Purdy needs help. He needs good receivers and running backs with him.
Right.
Just like everyone outside of the top 4.
I got that. I understand that. I just want to know, because I have a feeling we might talk Brock Purdy at various times over the course of the year. You think the Niners have, it's fair to say, good weapons all around him. Yeah. Good tight end, good running back, and what I've just heard was
they did last year, but they were hurt.
Yeah, I'll go with the under. I think that Robert Saleh is a nice addition, but they lost a ton of personnel on defense. I am not nearly as confident as others that Christian McCaffrey is going to be the Christian McCaffrey he was before he had the Achilles tendinopathy that spread to both legs. I don't know what Brandon Ayuk is going to look like coming off an ACL. Right. I also have no idea if Ricky Pearsall is a good number 2 or number 3. We've seen one good game from the player. I don't hold it against him. The kid got shot in the chest. My point is, to me, he's a total unknown. And Jawan Jennings, I agree with Brew. I think is a really nice number 3. The question is if he has to be a number 2 or at times a number 1, depending on Ayuk's rehab schedule. So I will go under. I do not think they are the best team in their division. I do think the Rams are the best team in their division, and I don't see why they're going to more than double their win total.
I'll second that under. I'm going under as well.
Again?
Yeah. Well, it's 10.5.
10.5 is a big number.
That's a big number. I'm going under, and the reason why I'm going under is because when I've seen this team at their best, they've been dominant in the NFC. They've been dominant. Like 22 and 23, they were 10 and 2 both of those seasons. I don't see them racking up wins like that, even with the fourth place schedule, because of what you alluded to, the players that they've lost and the level of play that we're going to expect out of Brock Purdy, and he's going to have to elevate those guys around him. I don't see them winning more than that. No.
Okay. I'm excited to talk about this because this is a little bit of a messy conversation, and I can appreciate the messiness of it all. I actually think 10.5 is like a perfect number, which then makes the actual over under a lot harder to figure out, which credit to Vegas. But this is their obviously non-divisional schedule. So listen, I think the Falcons will actually be potentially a pretty good team. I think depending on when you play the Falcons, because I think they'll actually be a pretty good team. The Panthers, who really knows? The Jags, quite frankly, who really knows? The Titans, who really knows? I think the Bears, again, though, this will also be interesting. When do you play the Bears? I think it's going to take a minute or two for Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams to kind of get some momentum going. So if you play the Bears later on in the season, I think they'll be a harder opponent. If you play them earlier on in the season, they'll be a little bit easier of an opponent. The Texans, I think they should be able to take a step forward. But again, who honestly really knows? You can't have this degree of confidence with them. The Colts, who's their quarterback? Daniel Jones or AR, right? The Saints, kind of the same thing. Did they draft Shedeur Sanders now? Are they rolling with Shedeur? Have they completely abandoned Derek Carr? I mean, I don't know, but even with Derek Carr and the Saints, that team is not necessarily this high powered team either. But I think they'll be a lot more consistent with Kellen Moore. But still, the Buccaneers, they're kind of a wait and see team with me right now, because I also want to see what they look like after they lost their offensive coordinator. Does Baker Mayfield look the same? Does he take a little bit of a step back? I'm curious about that. Again, Cleveland Browns, who is their quarterback? And the Giants, who is their quarterback? So what I like to do in this type of situation is I like to go through the very easy wins and the very easy losses. So again, when I do this, I'm not saying that these are guarantees, but it's just if you had to pick right now based off of no other information, who should they beat, and theoretically, what would be a loss that just makes sense. So it's the easy wins and the easy losses, not overthinking it at all. And if we do that, we're going to pick the Panthers, that's a win. The Jaguars, that's a win. The Titans, that's a win. The Colts, that's a win. The Browns, that's a win. The Giants, that's a win. That's 6 wins right there. Just like that. Immediately. Poof. Just like that. And again, we know football, that's not the way it works, right? You beat a team that you shouldn't have beaten, and you lose a game that you shouldn't have lost, right? We know that. That's embedded in this, and that's why this is not an actual hard prediction of how those games will unfold. But it actually works pretty well, and it's what I've done for whenever they actually officially announce the schedule. It's what I like to do, to go through the easy wins, the easy losses, just as a foundation, and then kind of go from there. And in my experience, it actually has worked pretty well. So you're going to tell me that they can't pull off a win against the Cardinals, maybe even 2 wins against the Cardinals, but let's just say 1 win. Okay, that's 7. The Seahawks. Right? All of a sudden, Nick Wright's super high on Sam Darnold. All of a sudden, he loves Sam Darnold, because I'm pretty sure he thinks Sam Darnold's awful and trash. Okay? That's 8 wins right there. Maybe 9. You understand what I'm saying here? You're right there within range already, and that's not counting for some of these other games where you're well, I don't know. Who are the Bears this season? Who are the Falcons? Again, we talk about the Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence can't stay healthy, and then now they have a new head coach. Titans what are they? Who are they? So I see the wins there, and of course everything has to be embedded in the 49ers being healthier. Their defense was awful last year, and I do think with Robert Saleh, their defense is going to be immediately better. Do they have all the personnel there, etc.? I don't know. I'm not going to predict. I'm going to, understand the depth and some of the other players that they're going to try to bring into this fold, especially through the draft. But I do believe in Robert Saleh as a defensive coach, maybe not a head coach, but as a defensive coach. So without a shadow of a doubt, do I believe that defense is going to be instantly more competent? Yes, I do. Will that directly lead to wins? Yes, I believe that. My biggest issue actually with the 49ers more than anything is actually Christian McCaffrey and this idea that they're going to be able to rely on him. I personally do not think he's going to ever be even close to who he was. That's just my own personal conclusion based off my own body failing on me, and all the injuries that I've had over my life, and just what I've witnessed other people go through, either through my personal life or through, professional athletes. And it just feels to me that his body is just, it's all degenerative at this point, right? When you have the issues that he's had and the injuries that he's had, it's just so cumulative. I don't think he'll be able to be the workhorse that he once was. It's wishful thinking. Do I think that he's just going to be like nothing? I think there's actually a possibility that he does get out there on the field and it's just dude, this is just, he just doesn't have it. Like, he really does fall off a cliff. I'm not predicting that because I honestly don't know. But the one thing that I am confident is that he won't even be remotely close to who he was, during those true dominant runs that he's had. I just don't see it. Could he have a game or two or here or there being that person? Sure, absolutely. Do I believe that he will be able to sustain that throughout a season? If he did, it would be one of the most remarkable things I've ever seen. And he should, write a book and talk about all the treatment that he's gone through and his recovery process and his diet and his nutrition and the doctors that he's seen. It would be pretty remarkable. It would be pretty remarkable because he's clearly dealing with degenerative issues of his whole body. And that's why I hate when Nick kind of like, oh, apparently it spread to his other leg. And it's just like, dude, this guy's body is turning on him. Like, you have to understand that that's what happens to athletes, and it's just unfortunate. It's so much of it is just genetics and just luck of the draw. It just is what it is. And so to kind of like, poke fun at that aspect is just like, that drives me insane, quite frankly. And again, as someone who's had degenerative issues, like, I talked about this a lot, like, my body, and again, I'm grateful for the body that I have because some people can't even move. But like, I was the type of person when I was like 10 years old, I had such bad pains in my ankles and my calf that I would like cry myself to sleep. Like, I was wearing knee braces at like 12 years old, although I'm sure that's probably common now, but when I was 12, it wasn't, like, so it's just what happens to some people, and you kind of fight through it as long as you can, and so it's definitely frustrating to see a body fail for an athlete, especially like a workhorse and someone who cares so much like a Christian McCaffrey. But I do think that is a true question mark that someone like Shanahan has to deeply understand, that someone like Christian McCaffrey cannot be the main engine, the main focal point of this offense, because you have no idea when he's going to be in the lineup. And he has to be seen as extra, that when we have him, that's awesome. We can do all this cool stuff, but he cannot be a foundational component of this team, because that's what happened last year. He was the foundation. He was the engine. And when you removed him from the lineup, it was like, don't know what to do. And not to mention, they also kept thinking he's going to come back. We just have to just keep this thing afloat until we get him back, rather than being like, no, we have to treat this like he's never coming back. The offense needs to be redesigned. The red zone offense needs to be redesigned. The game plan, the game management, it all needs to be redesigned when you have a foundational component like a Christian McCaffrey there versus not there. So to me, that's more of the question marks more than anything. But again, how that's juggled, how that unfolds, your guess is as good as mine. But I see some clear wins, even without some of the kind of like having to juggle the Christian McCaffrey kind of aspect of that. Even if they just are, a healthy-ish team, right? They don't have players constantly going in and out of the lineup, and they're ready to rock. I see already, just like the quick math, 7-8 wins just off of just like that. So that's why I think 10.5 makes sense, because I think it's it'll come down to like, oh, you're in a battle against the Buccaneers. Do you come away with that win? Do you make a mistake and drop an easy game? You're playing the Saints or the Giants or whatever, and Russell Wilson goes off and now you lose that game, right? The Browns, whatever it may be. Like, those games are always embedded in the NFL. But like, do you sweep the Rams? Like, you almost did. You could have beaten the Rams both times, quite frankly, but especially the one game when it was like, what the heck was that score again? Like 12-9 or 12-6, like something bizarre, very weird score. So we'll see. But like, 49ers, like, they don't have to play the Chiefs. They're not playing the Bills. They're not playing the Ravens. They're not playing the Eagles. They're not playing the Commanders. Like, there's a lot of hard games that they don't have to play. That's a massive benefit. When you look at that schedule, you're like, okay, you can beat the Falcons, you can beat the Panthers, you can beat the Jags, you can beat the Titans, you can beat the Bears, you can beat the Texans, you can beat the Colts, you can beat the Saints, you can beat the Bucks, you can beat the Browns, you can beat the Giants. You absolutely, even if you want to say that the Rams are the best team in the NFL, you can beat the Cardinals, you can beat the Seahawks. All right, so it's just like, I don't know why we're acting like that the 49ers are just going to be in complete disarray, unless we fundamentally believe that their roster is just really bad, and that Brock Purdy is just a mess and is nothing without a stacked roster. If you believe that, then sure. Then yes, this team's got no chance. but I don't personally believe that. So I'm more excited for the 49ers games this season than I was last season, actually, right now. Like now I actually am fascinated because it seems like to me like some of these games are going to be so fascinating to break down and kind of, you know, the style of play. I think the 49ers are going to evolve because they have to evolve in terms of their plan of attack and how they run their team and how they win games. And again, bringing in someone like a Robert Saleh, who's such a defensive force, I believe, from a coaching perspective, that I think that'll also influence and kind of change some of the decision making offensively. Like, I'm excited to see how this 49ers team evolves. We saw what they looked like for the last like 5-6 years or so. And I believe that there's just going to be kind of like a little bit newer of an evolution of a team. So yeah, from a football perspective and an entertainment perspective, I'm all for it. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the 49ers? Are you taking the over or under for 10.5? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.